right, so starter question for your Connect group. See if you know what song that was. See if you know what song that was. Into marriage, we're fast approaching the midpoint of our series on relationships, and marriage was this week. An exciting and kind of emotional and hard and somewhat passionate time for me to express how deeply God is committed to marriage, why He invented it, and some of the factors of marriage. The first that we covered was from Genesis and just looked at covenant marriage. What does it mean to be in a covenant vow? And I defined it as it's your word or the word of one person. So that marriage is ultimately based on a person's personal commitment, not necessarily the commitment of the other. Of course, when both are living in that commitment, it's powerful and can be very satisfying. When only one is pulling towards the commitment and the other's pulling away, then we get the tension and the strife and the frustration. So we want to pray for one another in our Connect groups. If you are married, we want you to join hands before the night's over and pray with your spouse, and then collectively as a group just praying one for another. For discussion, I'd love for you to look at Ephesians chapter 5. In particular, the idea that wives are to submit to their husbands, or as it's restated in verse 33, are to respect their husband, and husbands are to love their wives as Christ loves the church. I said that both of these powerful words of submission or respect and love are rooted in the idea of submitting one to another out of reverence for Christ. That's because verse 21 states that explicitly. If you look back in chapter 5, much of what's going on is a call to move ourselves from the way the world operates towards the light. It's saying to expose the dark deeds of the world while living in this wonderful light, so that we're wise. We understand what's going on around us. We don't get conformed to what's going on around us, but we can be a beacon of light into that world. So the marriage can be fairly evangelistic. In and of itself, a great marriage is speaking volumes to this world. In addition to saying be wise, which is verse 15, it gives us some specifics on that wisdom, on being filled with the Spirit rather than being drunk with wine, on singing and addressing one another with psalms and hymns, spiritual songs, to the Lord with our heart and giving thanks. So it gives us something about our spiritual life, how we're filled, and then how we pour out that worship and thanksgiving. And then it says, submit to one another. It's all one sentence. It's out of that filling of God's love, filling of the Spirit, worship, grateful heart, that we are to submit to one another. Then we're given three categories of relationship. The first is wives and husbands. The second is children and parents. And the third is slave and master. So that as I'm reading this whole of chapter 5, I'm seeing that all three of these relationships in the Ephesians church were to submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. The one we're focusing on is wives and husbands. Talk and discuss how difficult it is to respect someone, how difficult it is to love someone. What are the challenges? We heard from two of our members, and they gave us some insight into their relationship. Talk amongst each other. Even if you're not married, you can, I think, surmise based on watching marriage through your friends or watching it in your parents. What are the challenges to respecting someone? What are the challenges to loving someone? And maybe offer some hope. How can we do that? What are things we can focus on? And I think verse 21 gives us something to work with. Doing it out of reverence for Christ. And then lastly, the scripture from Hebrews 13 was it's just powerful scripture to honor marriage above all. To hold marriage in honor among all, so that marriage has this place in our life a commitment, a vow of that magnitude that's to be honored and respected. So moving from the personal perspective of marriage, talk about socially. What has happened to marriage in our day? What has happened in your lifetime? What do you see as the challenges for marriage? What are the victories for marriage? How do people outside of Christ look at marriage? How is our general worldview of marriage shifting and changing? And just have an open dialogue about that. If you're frustrated about things, share it in confidence in this group. If you're worried about things, this is the right moment to share it, and then to pray so that we don't just leave it on the table. We offer it in discussion, and then ultimately bring it to the Lord and say, God, we want to live this scripture out in our day. We want marriage to be held in honor among all. We want to put it forward as your institution, as your ordination. It's something that you invented, and we want to live it out and speak it out, and we want to do that in an honorable way. So I'm encouraging you, if you are married, to use this moment. Be wise now. If she's sitting next to you or he's sitting next to you, choose your words carefully. But to the degree that you can, maybe this group time is a conversation starter for your personal time, maybe even the car ride home. If you're not married or your spouse is not there, just be respectful of marriage. Be transparent, be open, but try not to throw particular people under the bus. Rather, offer your criticism with some constructive heart. How would you like to see things go better? So God bless. Have a great night. Enjoy your time, and I look forward to hearing some good reports. We want marriage to become more healthy at First Assembly in the coming days, coming months. We love you. Christ loves you way more. Have a great night.